Welcome to the Simple Cooking with Heart Kitchen. This evening in my home, I am Chef Stephanie Rose, and I am delighted that you have all joined me. And I don't know about you, but this is anything with polenta or grits is just, we love it. My daughter loves it. And mushrooms, everybody in my house, except my son, of course, but he's from another planet, will really enjoy this for dinner. And it is completely vegetarian. I don't have any meat. Of course, you could put a little meat in it if you wanted to, or maybe just saute 4-ounce chicken breast and have that on the side, but you don't need the meat. Mushrooms are meaty, and we're going to cut them kind of thick. So you're going to feel very satisfied. Okay. Let me see, make sure you've got your pot of, water here. I believe you need to put 2.5 cups of water in that. Make sure your can of evaporated low-fat milk is, ready to go, opened. So I have that over here already. Got some olive oil, garlic, whatever form of garlic you like. The recipe is asking that we slice it. That's the first, which is fine. I thought about getting out my mandolin, but I'm just going to have to slice it thinly with my knife. So says olive oil. If you want to use something that has a higher smoke point, I actually do like to use canola oil. Grapeseed oil when I am doing mushrooms, because it's nice to get a little color on them. And anytime you're going to get a little more color on it, that's going to give you a little more flavor. So again, we've got some fresh basil. I hope you were able to find some. I had to order a few times to get some. And Italian flat leaf parsley. I love Italian flat leaf parsley. If you can't find that, the curly is fine, but actually the flat leaf does taste better. So just keep that in mind. And if you wanted to jazz it up with some different, mixture of mushrooms, that is fine too. Whatever you can get your hands on, just preferably fresh, not in a can. And we've got a beautiful sweet onion, which we get to use today. So that could be, a Maui from Hawaii, or could be a Vidalia from Georgia. And there's like a whole list of other ones. I had no idea there were so many varieties of sweet onions. So I guess we can go ahead and get started. Make sure you've washed your hands, sing the happy birthday song. Doesn't have to be scalding hot. Get your hands wet, soap, scrub a dub. If you're really being professional, you go up your arms like this. Really is helpful when you're cooking to put your hair back. I don't know about y'all, but if my hair's not back, there's hair in the food. And that's just not a lot of fun. Sun-dried tomatoes. Now, I hope y'all didn't have a hard time finding the dried ones. They do the sun-dried and then they stick them in oil. Why? Okay, I mean, I know that's great, but not necessary. So I was able to find some, and I noticed that they had some smoked ones out there too. Of course, they were out of them. So get your sun-dried tomatoes, get your Parmesan, whatever kind you want, and let's get started. So for all my newbies out there, I want to make sure you know how to hold your knife. I always cover this just for safety precautions. You really, I want you to be safe. Don't want anybody to get hurt. So we just call it the pinching the blade technique. So I put my thumb on the bottom of the blade towards the handle, and then my pointer finger goes on the other side, and then I wrap, so you're pinching it here. Okay, you're straddling the blade. Your other 3 fingers go around the handle, and voila. So yeah, we got a roly-poly vegetable here. So, and I'm not going to do what I usually do because I want to slice this in 1/2-inch rings, or I'm going to try to slice this in 1/2-inch rings. So we will be needing to cut off just that the end, cut off both ends. I know one thing, the Vidalia, the sweet onions, hopefully, I could be wrong, knock on wood, aren't gonna make me cry. Because most onions just, there comes the tears. Now let's take off the paper. Get this out of the way. Now, when you're making rings, it can be a little bit harder to get that paper off. There we go. Ooh, it's kind of milky. Milky liquid coming out. There we go. Okay, so make sure, it's not too slippery. If you got to dry off your hands and dry it off, you want to be able to get a good grip. Hold on to it as best as you can. They actually do have these tools that have all these teeth. Hey, if you need to get a fork and stab it with the fork, that works too, just so it's upright like this. If that helps, then give that a try. And then we're just going to slice down. I think that's a 1/2 inch, close enough. And let's just go all the way through, get our rings cut. And it always gets harder, when the closer you get to that edge. Reconfigure here. Keep slicing. Oh, all right. I'm gonna have to use my hands. If it's too difficult for you, don't worry about it. Cut it in half, That doesn't have to be perfect rings, right? Some of them might just come apart anyway. So this last one, I kind of destroyed it. I'm going to lay my hand flat and kind of cut across this way. Slippery. Let me get rid of that one. Oh, well, what the heck? I'll just cut that one in half. The end's a little funky anyway, right? There we go. Hopefully you have somewhere to put the onions. This one's a little bit thick. And I also found out something today that I did not know. You could do this, while the onions are in season, and then lay them out on a tray and put them in the freezer. And then they will freeze, and then you can have them for later, which I thought was kind of interesting. So there we go. So that's a lot of onion. These guys are usually on the large sides, right? Super. Okay, my onions are ready. You can save all those scraps for a stock or not, compost, whatever, or salad dressing. So those are done. See how easy peasy that was? Now it says 3 portobellos, the medium size. So I have 2. So, it's hard to find ones that aren't already pre-packaged these days. Everything, they got to, put it in a plastic tray, cover it with plastic. Like, okay, already, that's a lot. And then I've got a couple over here. I decided I wanted to have a little bit of a variety. So I have a few oyster mushrooms. Why not? And some button baby portobello mushrooms. Because why not? Because I can. And actually, I just happen to have some in the refrigerator because I had a class on Tuesday making a frittata. Now the portobellos, let me just point something out with them. When you cook them, oftentimes the gills inside, they're dark, and they can make your sauce kind of dark as well. So some people like to scrape those out. So just take a spoon and just scrape away. But this is not a necessary, absolute necessary thing to do. Okay. But I'm going to do it for one, just so you can see. And sometimes I take off a little bit of this edge too, just to clean it up a little bit, So that can go bye-bye. This is all still good stuff, you know. Some people like to take out the stem. Most of this stem's already been removed, but I am going to cut it down again. Again, you do not have to be this judicious with your mushroom, but I would recommend cutting out the stem. They're just not that tasty. Okay, now it looks perfectly hideous. All right, so cut this into, again, we've got a 1/2 inch. This is my 1/2 inch. I don't know what your 1/2 inch is. 1/2 inch strips. There we go. I'm going to put those in a dish. Put them over here. Ah, that's what this is for. Okay. Put them in my little colander. This one, I'm just going to go ahead and just cut that. I guess always best to cut away from you. I'm going to go ahead and keep the gills in this one. Now you can wash your mushrooms. I know there's some say, oh, just wipe it off with a rag. If you want to run it underwater, you know, and then put it aside to dry, that is absolutely fine too. You know, they'll dry out. They're not going to soak up too much liquid. Now, so these oyster ones, I'm going to get rid of that bottom part. And I don't want to cut these up too much. Again, we want this to be meaty and delicious. My baby portobellos. Again, I think I'm going to just maybe cut those into whatever that's called. I learned this one from Ming Tsai. Gives you another meaty feeling. And then this way we're going to have kind of a different visual for the mushrooms. Might make the dish look more interesting. Because this is going to be a very brown and green dish. So I'm cutting them in half. If they're really big, you can get more out. So I'm just trying to cut up enough that might equal another whole portobello, medium size. But hey, if you have a little bit more, these guys are kind of little, so they don't really count so much. Aren't those cool? I do love mushrooms. I wish I had some chanterelles. I wish I had some morels. I mean, all of those. I actually did look for some dried ones. So, I mean, you could totally, hey, oh, my puppy is into something. Zoe. Oh, she's going to chew my clothes up. Hang on one sec. No. Oh, I caught her. Okay. Fortunately, this is the shirt that she's allowed to chew up. This is what she does to my clothes. Yeah, isn't that, you know, it's a whole new style. Oh, you're a crazy dog. Okay. Saved there. All right, got my mushrooms cut up. Fabulous. Got my onions cut up. Now I think I need to cut up 1 clove of garlic. Actually, I'm going to slice that, right? So that means I have to be careful with the getting the paper off. I'm not going to smash it because I want to slice it. And I don't want to slice a mashed up piece of garlic. So, and this is nice, a nice big one. So I'm going to take my paring knife and do what I usually do, which is cut off the dried nubby end part, okay? And then I'll go ahead and cut that other part off. And I don't know if you were here in my last class, a lot of people don't buy the fresh garlic because they don't use it that often, and when it starts sprouting in your refrigerator, it doesn't like to be in that dark, moist drawer, first of all. And it also, believe it or not, can go in the freezer. So you could just get this whole head of garlic and put it in your freezer, just like that. And then just pluck some off when you need it. So I guess I'm going to use a smaller knife, and I'm just going to slice it as thin as I can. This does have a big green thing growing in it. This is organic garlic too. Shouldn't be doing that. If I was being really particular, I would have pulled that out, but then I'd have to cut it in half. So if it gets real small, you know, you could straddle it and slice it. And then I've got to this nubby end part. And then I'm just going to make it easy on me and slice it that way. Okay. So I have some nice sliced garlic. And now I'm going to get cracking. Got my beautiful nonstick skillet here. That has a lid, which is really nice. It's actually one of the first nonstick skillet I have purchased that has a lid. And it wasn't cheap. So if you don't have any, you want to just go ahead and use olive oil. That is absolutely fine. You could use whatever you have. I mean, olive oil is nice, but if you're going to get it really hot, sometimes that just sort of defeats the purpose of using a nice expensive olive oil. I'm trying to think how much olive oil do we get to use? I think maybe it's a teaspoon or tablespoon. My moderator's upstairs. Okay. Oh yeah. Here we go. So it's on. If you are using a nonstick, you don't want to get it too hot. They don't like getting too hot. So that's on. And I'm actually going to turn my water on for my polenta. I hope that nobody had any trouble finding some. I mean, you could always use you could use grits. You could use just regular yellow cornmeal. That works too. All comes out the same. You know, I like mine to be kind of, you know, creamy and runny. I don't want it to be like those stiff logs that you find in the store. And you don't want to buy those anyway, because I'm sure they're full of sodium. We don't want that. So get that hot. Turn this on. Your water should be about 2.5 cups. I'm going to go ahead and pour in the evaporated low-fat milk, 12 ounces. Get that going. Trying to think, anything else going there? Go ahead and add your tomato paste. That's welcome to go in. I have this perfect little tablespoon in my little bowl here. So when I open up a can, whoever uses the whole can, you know, and then there's always some inside the can, and you should not put that can in the refrigerator with the plastic saran wrap on top of it, like my mother did for my entire life growing up. And then it just ends up, you know, in the trash, you know, or gets all crusted. God bless her. I love her, but I don't do that. I'll pull out a sheet of plastic wrap and then dollop out mounds, tablespoon mounds, and then roll that up, twist it, and put that in the freezer, and voila. Okay, I know it's not expensive, but I don't want to waste food. And then I have perfect little, you know, perfect amount servings, 1 tablespoon each of tomato paste. And if you can find some low sodium tomato paste, more power to you. I don't think I've been too successful with that. All right, so that's going in. Great. This recipe is going to be cooked very quickly. I think the one thing that's going to take the most time to cut up is going to be the parsley. So how do I know if my oil is hot? Don't flick water in it. That's not safe. Of course, that's what my mother used to do too. So you can see in my pan, I don't know if you can see or not, the oil has all completely moved to the outside. And oftentimes it'll start to show a little, of course, you know it's hot when it's smoking, but we don't really need it to get to that point, okay? So you should start to see little ripples. Of course, you could always just put one in, you know, put one of your slices in and see what happens. It's looking like it's hot. I think it's hot. You can do this in a Dutch oven too. Sometimes I do it in more than one. I'll do it in batches so as to not crowd the pan. But not tonight. This should be good. Move those around in your pan. Sounds good. Those pesky mushrooms, you know, they like suck up all the oil instantly. But then as they cook, you know, then their liquid starts to come out. And I think that's what we want. So actually, I think this is a pretty perfect size pan. Very happy. Yay, I like my new pan. Got this on. Make sure you have a whisk ready, because when we get to pouring the polenta into our liquid here, it's very helpful having a whisk. And we have our balsamic vinegar. Hopefully you guys all have balsamic vinegar. If you don't, you know, you can always substitute another one, you know, any, you know, red wine vinegar, it's fine. I would substitute that. If you don't have that, you could also use a little bit of red wine. You know, it's just not going to have that little hint of sweetness, which is fine, right? So, okay, you know, the less you mess with this, the better. And I just wanted to get a little bit of color on them. Hopefully that will happen, even if it's just on one side. Before I add in my, oh wow, that one's got some color on it already. Before I add in the onions. Around the edges, it's getting some color. I like it. All right, so while that's going, I'm just kind of turning them over individually. Press them down if you need to. Sounds good. Sounds very good. Starting to smell pretty yummy in here. Likey. Give that a second. Now I'm going to go ahead and slice my tomatoes while that's happening. Okay. So it says 5 of them. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can also buy them already julienned. Just cut them thinly, and then they're going to go in our liquid. And I know the liquid is going to help rehydrate them. I thought maybe I would need to do that ahead of time, but I'm going to do it their way. I figured the longer that they're in our liquid, the more that flavor is going to come through. I think the sauce is going to be a pretty color too, with the tomato paste. There you go. Perfect. Now I have some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano over here that I love. So there we go. Those are perfect. Those are ready. Let me check out my mushrooms. I can tell that they're nice. At least I got a nice color on one side. So I'm going to go ahead and add my onions. Seems like a lot of onions, right? I still have mine on kind of medium high. I'm trying to get my onions on the bottom. Moving things around. Mushrooms on top, onions on the bottom. Tongs help. Get those onions cooking. Better like onions for this dish. Go ahead and turn it down just a little bit. Not too much. So it's on medium, okay? So keep an eye on them. Let those cook. This is actually starting to come. Got some action over here. My tomato paste is disintegrating, which is great. You know, and just in case I have some extra water over here in case I need it. Rolling boil we're looking for. Now I want to start cutting up my herbs. Okay, the basil is already pretty. I've got my leaves, but I need to do my parsley. Now, you know, we can't, you know, we don't normally eat the stems of the parsley because they're really woody. So we need a 1/4 cup. So go ahead and start pulling the leaves off of the stem. You know, if you like wood, you can chew on the stem. But parsley is so wonderful. You could also save this, you know, this is going to be really good in any kind of a stock. I'm saving all that, all the tops of the mushrooms, everything for a stock. You can even buy mushroom stock. Forget it. You don't need to buy any now. You can make your own with all of the trimmings from the mushrooms, the stems and the gills. Make a nice mushroom. Today is cold. I mean, today, this is a perfect dish for today. It's a nice foil from our dish last week, which I thought was really yummy. I couldn't believe my daughter actually had 2 servings. It just warms my heart, you know, when the family enjoys. She said it was her favorite. So if you were here last week, I know some of you were. Really lovely to see my regular group out there, and we're just also delighted to have new faces. Tell your friends. And you know, the kitchen is reopening. I'm going to be having my first class with just a few students. It's just a special group. We can't yet reopen to the public yet, but we're definitely going to have some trial classes. Get my kitchen legs back on, so to speak. All right, my onions, this is cooking. Just keep stirring it. I'm gonna turn that down. I think I need a little bit more parsley. I want a big pile here. I need a 1/4 cup, right? That's a good amount. And it never hurts to chop up a little extra. Sometimes I chop up a lot extra. And remember what I told you I do with my tomato paste? Guess what? You could do that with your chopped parsley too. Save yourself a lot of money. Let's not waste the herbs. Chop them up. Put it in a little pile. Put it in the freezer. Right? You can even dry it. That's a whole nother class. It's not hard though, but I don't want you to, I do it in the microwave, or heck, everybody's got a dehydrator now, right? Doesn't everybody have an Insta or air fryer that does dehydrates too? I don't know about y'all, but I love my air fryer. So maybe I should try the dehydrator. Look at that. All right, that's a nice pile. Now I'm gonna stir these bad boys up. It says it's supposed to cook about 10 minutes or so. Now, I have not added my garlic yet. I don't want it to burn. So I usually hesitate and add that a little bit to the end. But I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt. We get to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon. That's usually our standard quantity. I must add fresh cracked black pepper. Oh yeah, just fill this bad boy up today. Isn't that gorgeous? Love it. Fresh cracked black pepper. Come to mama. Lovely, lovely. Oh yeah. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I don't know how long this has been cooking. It's not timing anything here. You know me, I just kind of go by eyeball. Now, there's not a huge group of y'all, so if you did need to take yourself off mute and ask me a question, that's absolutely fine. Just remember to put yourself back on mute. There we go. Yeah, just keep stirring on that. Keep stirring that. Now, the parsley. What am I going to do? I'm going to wad it up into a big, huge ball. Okay. Smush it together. That just makes it easier. Smush it all into a big pile. Try to hold on to it. Make sure your other hand, your fingers are curled under, and then we're just going to slice it. And I kind of try to reconfigure it as I'm slicing it. Stop while you're doing that. I push it up against the blade a little bit too. You can see. Move my hands back, and then I keep going. And I scooch and I scooch. Okay, that end part, well, just change your grip. Relax it. Put your other hand on the tip to hold it down, and then we're just going to sweep up and down. Get it off here and sweep it up back and forth. Like I said, it doesn't have to be too super fine. I don't think that any is necessary. That's definitely more than 1/4 cup. Of course, if I smashed it into my 1/4 measuring cup, it would fit. But that's a nice amount. There's no parsley police here. Okay. Let's stir things up over here. I think maybe now I'm going to add my garlic. I like what's happening. I'm going to turn down my liquid. It's actually at a boil. So let me just turn that off for a minute. I'm not ready. Incorporate your garlic. Stir it in. At least this is one dish you can actually play with your food a little bit more than usual. Always keep an eye on it. Do not leave the kitchen when you're cooking something like this. Because that's just a recipe for disaster. All right, you can see how the onions are kind of limping up a little bit. I like these. I want to be able to smell my garlic. There we go. If one looks like it's not cooked, move that bad boy to the bottom. Fabulous. Now my basil. Oh yes, the basil that I love. I'm going to show y'all the chiffonade. So I take the big leaves and I put them in a pile, a nice, neat little pile. Comme ça. Okay. But unfortunately, the order of basil I got today was not so good. If you don't have the fresh basil, I completely understand. You could use dry, and that's absolutely fine. So I have a nice little pile, and now I roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it. And then again, my fingers are curled under, and then I'm just going to slice this as thin as I can with a sharp knife, always, because basil does not like a dull knife, and it is going to turn black. So then I have perfect little basil chiffonade. That is definitely not a quarter cup, so I need to do some more. And I actually think, ooh, getting good color. I think that is actually coming to a head and is ready for the rest of the ingredients. So let me hurry up and do this. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and add my tomatoes to my liquid. It's nice and hot, and I think it's ready. And I've got my vinegar ready. Parsley, again, just cut it as thin as possible. And always add some more, right? All right, that's about a quarter cup. Now it's time to get all this goodness in here. Lovely. Add my basil, my parsley. Yeehaw. Stir that all up in here. Sweet. Okay, you know I'm dying to take a bite of that. Now I got to put the lid on it. Play a little bit of musical pots here. Okay, I'm going to move this one. I turned that one off, so I'm safe. Move this one. My liquido for my polenta. This is going to happen quickly, okay? Once you get your polenta cooked, you will want to serve it immediately, you know, because it starts to harden up, and then it becomes your little polenta rocks. Okay, put your mushrooms with the lid on it on a low burner, and let's just simmer that. So that one's in the back on my lowest burner, chilling, cooking. Everything is pretty well cooked, really, already in that. I already added some salt and pepper. There we go. Clean up my mess. I wish my dog ate parsley instead of my cloves. That would be so much nicer. There we go. Looks a little neater. Now, when we add our polenta, have your whisk ready. Got everything in here. Got my sun-dried tomatoes already in there. Now I'm going to start pouring in the cornmeal. It says to pour it in slowly. Probably a good idea. How's everybody doing out there? Is everybody just about at this point? I don't want to rush you too much. Like I said, you can always add more liquid, you know, and sort of keep it a little bit. So I'm just pouring it in, whisking. Of course, if you were using, you know, grits polenta, you would have had to have started this an hour ago, or at least a half hour ago. This is instant polenta. I was fortunate enough to find it in the international section, actually, of my store. Oh, it's Italian, authentic. There we go. I can feel that it's getting thick. So that was 1 cup. Now let's hope this works. Got my whisking away. It's already thickening up, turning it down. Oh, now it's starting to spit. All right, protect your eyes. It does that. If it's too much spitting, turn it down. You can always move it a little off the burner. Do whatever is the safest. Hope it does spit on my camera. Well, of course, if you keep stirring, that will be preventing. You will be preventing that. Check that out. And it's actually a pretty color. It's kind of pink. I like that, which is a kind of a nice foil, and it is getting thick. Totally getting thick. I love it. I love it. I love it. Heart healthy. No heavy cream. No butter. Thank you for that spotlight, moderator. I love my moderator. So it's definitely filling up my whisk. Actually, that's pretty well done. I'm going to go ahead and, so it's a little thick. So if you like it more liquidy, just go ahead and add a little bit more water. Okay. But if you let it sit, it will really seize up on you. Okay, so I just added a little bit more water, got it a little bit more liquidy. I have already, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more. Just a little bit at a time. Of course, this is also cooling it off. There we go. All right, all right. Let me check on my mushroomies. They should be done. Stir that up. Oh, yeah. They look pretty yummy. I'll go ahead and maybe put them on the side here. Oh, I'm dying to taste one of these mushrooms. I'm going to. Delicious. Delicious. Let's turn off all your burners so you can see my mushrooms. Ooh, ooh, very nice. It's heavy. Carefully put this in here. Now it says when you're serving this, you put all the polenta in a, I could just put the mushrooms right on top of the polenta in this beautiful pan here and take that to the table, or you can get a big, beautiful platter and do it that way as well. So I think I am ready to serve this up. I know one thing, I am certainly very interested in tasting this very soon. It would be lovely with a nice glass of wine, a little bit of wine or water, whatever wets your whistle. So I'm going to just pour, see, look at it, it's already thickening up. And this is a lot, plenty in here. Voila, a little bit of polenta, just spread it out a tad. Got my mushrooms. Put those on top with these delicious onions. And there's a little bit of juice. Not much juice, but a little bit. Hello, where are you, juice? All right, check that out. That last but not least, if you could give an overhead of the plate, that would be awesome. What does it need, ladies? I know what it needs. The Parmesan. I'm actually going to go ahead and do some fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano, because that is what I adore. Okay, it gets on the polenta, put it on the mushrooms. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then maybe I need a little bit more parsley just to garnish that. And a little bit of basil. Little bit of basil there. Just a bit of basil. Okay. It's so big. I think I want the baby basil. I love the little baby leaves. That is my favorite. Look at that. Okay, it's going to be very hard to not take a bite of this. So I'm going to take a bite of this. It's hot. I'm waiting to hear the footsteps. My lovely daughter coming down the stairs. So I think y'all are going to be super. Oh, it's really yummy. You know, putting the vinegar in a lot of dishes is a real good thing to know about, because most dishes, if you taste it and you think it's missing something, you're like, oh, and you really want to put some salt on it. Most often it just needs a hint of acid. So, you know, squirt a little lemon on it, or you just drizzle a little bit of vinegar on it, just a little bit, because that's all it needs. It's screaming for some balance instead of going for the salt. All righty. Well, all I can say is buon appetito, my dear friends. This is very easy, very quick dinner. Serve it with a nice little light arugula watercress salad, or just some mesclun with a nice little simple vinaigrette. And there you have a really nice, super healthy dinner. No bread. Stay away from the bread, or just, you know, maybe some wasa crackers or something, or just one tiny little piece of bread, you know, with some bruschetta on it or something. So here you have it, a dreary, rainy day. And look what you have to look forward to tonight. This wild mushroom ragu on a bed of polenta with cheese, Parmesan, and sun-dried tomatoes. I love it. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you next week. I can't wait to see you in the kitchen. And I'm really delighted that you've all been here tonight, joining me in the Heart Kitchen. So y'all have a wonderful rest of the week. TGI Friday is tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.